Hey all, back with another Spotlight with Context, and this time we are talking about the Medusa update. Definitely a bit late in this month, and I apologize for anybody who's been waiting on it. It's been a very busy month. But the good news is that there's honestly not that much to talk about here. And I do not mean by that Medusa is not worth talking about. What I mean is that her strength is in her simplicity, right? And very little about her kit actually changed with this update, so I will be moving rather quickly through this and more trying to clarify things. First off, survivability of 3, she has poison immunity, pretty standard health pool, and she has access to a very strong auto block, and she can save herself up to twice in quick succession, right? As long as your opponent isn't stopping auto block, that's a really nice safety net. On top of that, it can trigger parry, meaning that you get an opening out of the deal most of the time, but that's kind of her only defensive ability. So 3 is probably about right, depending on how you play her and if you run the Inequity Masteries. You could kind of squint at this and think 3.5. I think she's on the high side of a 3, but that's about where she should be. Damage of 4.5, she hits really frickin' hard. There are plenty of ways to shut her down, right? She does need to land armor breaks. She likes landing bleeds, they're not super important. She likes landing crits. She likes holding on to her furies. Interrupt any of those, she does slow down, but she hits really hard. That has not changed, it has only gotten better in this update. Ease of use 4, like we said, she's a very simple character. You can kind of get to the meat of her loop with medium, special 1. That's about as easy as it gets. And from there, you just kind of want to hit your opponent a lot so that you gain power. Not really anything groundbreaking. Utility of 2.5. Again, this might be slightly underselling it. Armor Break is great. Armor Shatter is incredible, especially against certain opponents. And we added True Accuracy, so now she's even better. It's focused utility, but it's very good utility. And then Defender Strength of 3. I think this may have actually come down slightly from where she was on her original launch, even though we technically made her a harder defender with this update. And that just reflects the fact that there are so many more answers. When she first launched, there were barely any answers in the game to autoblock. I have old but strong memories of taking down Medusa war bosses with Hyperion just heavy countering to do damage because there wasn't much else to do. And there wasn't as much powerful buff control in those days as there is now. Between those two things, there are plenty of answers to her, but if you don't have an answer to her, the fight can absolutely grind to a halt. Running right into strengths and weaknesses, I had fun writing these dev notes, but again, they're fairly simple. She's good at armor breaks, she's good at holding on to furies, and she is incredible at dismantling robots. If your opponent is a robot and they're not specifically protected from Medusa, she's probably going to turn them into scrap metal. It's about as clean as it gets. Weaknesses, it is almost impossible for Medusa to win a fight without landing armor breaks. You can technically avoid them, but then why would you use Medusa? There's almost nothing left there. So anything that punishes armor breaks makes her almost useless. Debuff shrugging is a huge problem. Pretty much all of her offensive output is dependent on debuffs, except that's dependent on her furies. So buff punishment is also bad. Pretty simple. Moving into the abilities, she's immune to poison. She's from that old guard where we had a bunch of characters in a row that were related to the Kree. Remember, Inhumans are related to the Kree. They all had immunity to poison. Move on to medium attacks. If the opponent is not armor shattered, you have a 150% chance to inflict an armor break debuff, reducing armor rating for 4 seconds. So these are short armor breaks, but if you haven't played Medusa before, the point is to stack a few of them and then probably use the special one to make sure that you can get to 6. 6 is that magic number that we'll get to shortly. You can technically get to 6. They are long enough to parry medium, parry medium, parry medium. But then you can go buy a lottery ticket or something because the AI played into you just that perfectly. Doesn't normally happen that way. The other thing to talk about here for a second is that 150% chance. This chance is not elevated by anything else, and so that means that it will be shut down by a 100% tranquilize or by a 100% concussion. Because it's a 150% chance, but that's its base chance, and so it is lowered all the way to 0 by something that's reducing ability accuracy by 100, because it reduces it by 100% of 150. I realize that's very unintuitive. I apologize, but I just want to shout that out because that will come up. What this 150 does do is it means that if something is reducing her ability accuracy by, say, like 33%, like, say, Warlock's Infection, then she will be able to ignore that. She does still have extra ability accuracy for these armor breaks, but they are going to run into complete shutdown ability accuracy. Fury buffs, she used to just have 3 and then got to 6 with the Black Bolt synergy. She is now way less dependent on her husband, and she can get 6 in the base kit. They have all gotten weaker, but that's okay because she has access to more of them more often, she has better uptime, and there are other parts of her kit that have gotten damage boosts, so she hits significantly harder overall. She gets these every 3 seconds while she's not yet at 6. They're decently chunky Furies. The first 3 are indefinite, and this has been changed so that they are actually indefinite. They're not just indefinitely paused, and that means that they trigger the permanent benefits of the Thor relic, if you want to use that with her. And the others last 14 seconds, but are paused until she reaches her max. Like I said, this means that she has access to a lot of Furies a lot of the time. One of the OG answers to both Diss Track and Buffed Up. Moving on to Armor Shattered. This is kind of the centerpiece of the kit. She was the first one to have it, still one of only 2. When the opponent is suffering from at least 6 Armor Break debuffs, they're replaced with an Armor Shattered debuff and a big Armor Break debuff. So the Armor Shattered has other properties, right? The Armor Break is what's actually reducing the armor rating. So this does mean, just to shout it out, that if the Armor Shattered sticks for some reason, but the Armor Break doesn't, it gets purified or something, then Medusa will lose out on a lot of damage, even though she will get the utility benefits we're about to go over. Important wrinkle. So while Armor Shattered, the opponent's armor up buffs suffer 100% reduced ability accuracy. This only hits buffs, and it doesn't stop armor ups that have extra ability accuracy or are protected like Ultrons, but it will answer quite a few buffs. Robot opponents also get minus 100% combat power rate, minus 100% ability power rate, and minus 100% ability accuracy. So unless they are explicitly protected, they stop gaining power and nothing in their kit works unless it is like charges or something else that doesn't get filtered through ability accuracy. So really, really strong anti-robot ability just from having the Shattered debuff specifically. Also, while the opponent is shattered, Medusa's light and heavy attacks gain a 50% chance to inflict an indefinite bleed debuff, and they just last until the Shattered ends. So if you hold on to the Shattered, if you refresh it, they don't go away, ever. That is an important thing to note, that these bleeds are not explicitly tied to this Armor Shattered persisting. They're tied to any Armor Shattered being on the opponent, and so if you can loop it around to apply another Armor Shatter within that 35 seconds, you don't lose the bleeds, and you can hold on to these for the entire fight. And they really start to add up. This is one of the bigger boosts in this kit, is her long fight potential, because her bleeds used to be capped at 30, and now they're capped at 99, which is the standard for when we don't specify a cap, and so she can get a lot more damage out of them. Special Attack 1 is just designed to turn on Armor Shattered if it's not already there. Each of its 4 hits inflicts an Armor Break debuff. These last for 6 seconds, so a little bit longer, but the way you're normally going to do this is a medium-medium or medium-light-light-light-medium, whatever, some combo with 2 mediums into the special 1. That's going to get you your 6 armor breaks. Boom, armor shattered. Special 2 has been upgraded to have both of its effects at all times. It used to be that if the opponent was armor shattered, then you would get the bleeds. If they weren't armor shattered, you get the stun. Now you get both these stronger, shorter bleed debuffs, so they benefit a lot from deep wounds, and this very long stun, regardless of the opponent's status. It is worth noting, if the Limber is not in play, you can use this stun debuff to apply Armor Shatter as well by just going medium, 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 medium. Not the way I would normally do it, but especially because now you don't lose out on the bleeds, that is a viable option. The stun also got a bit longer so that she has access to a bit more control from it when she is facing somebody with Limber. And then Special 3, this inflicts an Armor Shatter immediately. You get the full benefit, the full strength, the full 35 seconds, no hoops to jump through. And then if the opponent is already Armor Shattered when you throw it, either from a previous Special 3 or from the Special 1, then you refresh those effects and gain a Fervor buff, increasing damaging debuff ability accuracy by 100% for 35 seconds. So now your 50% chance to bleed while the opponent is armor shattered becomes a 100% chance to bleed, and the 60% on the Special 2 gets bumped up to 120 and can actually cut through Tranquilize if for some reason you're using Medusa there. So the signature ability is pretty familiar. When she is struck twice within half a second and has at least 3 personal fury buffs, she has a 100% chance to auto-block non-heavy attacks. Auto-blocking counts as a well-timed block, meaning it triggers the parry mastery and consumes 3 personal fury buffs. This is a little bit different in that it now only consumes her personal fury buffs, but this should make her easier to track both offensively and defensively when there are other Furies involved, because you'll always know that if she has personal Furies ticking down, okay, well then that means she's at 6, and that means I have access to 2 auto blocks, right? Before, it was not really any stronger, because she would only auto block off of her personal Furies, but you could lose track of how many you had left. And now, again, both offensively and defensively, it's a bit clearer, because she consumes her specific Furies, the same ones that she needs to auto-block. And then a brand new effect, now whenever she inflicts Armor Shatter or gains a Fervor buff, she gains a very long True Accuracy buff. So as a reminder, True Accuracy bypasses Evade and auto-block, meaning that if Medusa can land medium, medium, Special 1, cool, she bypasses Evade and auto-block now. And because it's for 35 seconds, the same duration as the Armor Shattered, you can probably hold on to it for pretty much the whole fight, because that's going to be how you are focusing on fighting with her anyway. And then real quick, touching on her synergy bonuses, she gets increased Fury buff potency with Black Bolt instead of additional Furies. Her Furies still end up a bit weaker than they used to be, but she has access to them more often, like we talked about, and she has a stronger Armor Shatter, so she's still doing significantly more damage. And that's pretty much Medusa, right? She still works great with the Venom Relic, like we talked about. She got better with the Thor Relic. She still has all of her simplicity and strength. She has new utility. Everything got easier to manage. Most of the effects got stronger. She just generally got better. And she feels really, really good to play. So if you haven't already tried her, check her out. There's good content on her by this point. There will continue to be more content on her. She's a really great character, and I'm really happy that we were able to ship this buff and really do justice to the character. So with that in mind, I will see y'all again soon. Until next time, thanks so much for watching, and take care.